Good morning now, 9 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. President Trump put a 5-day hold on further strikes on Iran's infrastructure, its energy infrastructure, after talks that he said had started yesterday led to some concessions from Iran.
We'll at some point very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
The president speaking to the press as he prepares to depart from Palm Beach International Airport. He's on his way to Memphis for an update on the Memphis Safe Task Force. A 25-year-old illegal immigrant from Venezuela is under arrest today. Police in Chicago say he is responsible for the death of a Loyola University freshman student.
18-year-old Sheridan Gorman was just hanging out with her friends near a beach near the campus, the university campus in Rogers Park, around 1:30 a.m. when a masked gunman approached them and opened fire. Gorman was pronounced dead at the scene. No one else was hurt. She was just months away from finishing her first year of college.
That's Fox News' Harris Faulkner. DHS says Medina entered the country illegally in 2023, and court records show that he was also arrested that year in Chicago for shoplifting. So where's the money? There's new questions about $4.5 million in funding for Nashville's homeless population and how it's been spent. Fox 17 reports some council members say they won't approve another dollar until they see an accounting of the previously approved funding. Speakers at a recent council meeting accused Metro Council of providing rent for some homeless and then stopping the assistance, causing evictions. A ground stop briefly in place this morning at Newark Liberty International Airport. That's where a traffic control tower was being evacuated due to reports of smoke. An FAA spokesperson saying there was no fire. The controllers evacuated the tower due to a burning smell from an elevator. Meantime, ICE agents have begun deploying to 14 airports around the country with the longest TSA wait times, an effort to ease the burden on those unpaid TSA workers. And the federal government filing a new petition to kick Kilmar Abrego Garcia out of the country. It now says the government of Liberia has agreed to take him.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement could arrange a charter plane to send him in 5 days. They've now asked the federal judge who banned the administration from deporting him, Judge Paula Zinnes, to reconsider by April 17th.
That's Channel 4's Marius Payton. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. Nice bounce on the market here. The Dow Jones Industrials currently trading 925 points higher. The NASDAQ is up 452. We've got S&P 500 index plus 123 at the moment. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
We need to build a wall, and it has to be built quickly.
Good morning. It is 9:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name is Chris Hand. Hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. I sure as heck did. I just turned off my phone and I stopped paying attention to the news. That was nice. I don't know. I should do that more often. Do you feel like you should do that more often? I think you should.
A little bit of zoning out.
Man, it was awesome.
It is such a good thing to do.
So we completely unplugged all weekend long. And then as I'm plugging back in on Sunday night, I was like, oh, I missed the ultimatum. And then as I'm driving in this morning, I was like, oh, the ultimatum's off. Oh, okay. Then oil prices start plunging. They were down like 8% after the ultimatum was off. And then I heard from Joan in the newsroom that Iran said, we didn't say that. We're still doing everything we want to do. Okay. I don't really know where the war stands right now. I'm very confused. Either we're very close to it being done, or we're very close to knocking out all of their energy infrastructure, or somewhere in the middle. I don't know. All I do know is that President Trump was speaking about this before he got on the plane to head to Memphis. He's going to be in Memphis today, touting the huge wins from the Memphis Safe Task Force. We'll be following that story as it happens, and should that break while we're on the air, where he's down in Memphis, we'll cover it for you. The way it shakes out is probably going to be after our show, I would imagine. But if it does happen during the 9 to noon shift, we'll have it for you here on Super Talk. But before he gets on the plane, a reporter said to President Trump, Iran TV says you weren't telling the truth about ongoing negotiations. Oh, is that so? This is the president's response.
The ministry says you're not telling the truth when it comes to productive conversations to end the war.
Well, they're going to have to get themselves better public relations people. We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. We have major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement. Perhaps that hasn't been conveyed. The communication, as you know, has been blown to pieces. They're unable to talk to each other. But we've had very strong talks. Mr. Witkoff and Mr. Kushner had them.
You got to get better public relations people, says the president of the United States. They got to get better PR. They got to figure out how to communicate with each other. Are they down to tin can and string method? Perhaps is that?
I think they're passing stone tablets around.
Probably too harsh. Yeah, they're carrier pigeons. Is that what they're going with? I don't know.
Carrier pigeons?
What?
Carrier pigeons?
People do it.
Yeah, but, we controlled that airspace. I'm pretty sure we'd shoot it down.
True. Birds aren't real, so we'd probably stop that pretty quickly. What?
Here we go.
What?
Birds aren't real.
Thank you, Joan.
You explain to me why a
Chemtrails.
pigeon comes to my windowsill and stares at me while I do my job then.
Thank you, Joan. Joan's right when she says birds aren't real. The president continued he was talking about Iran. He said last night's talks went perfectly, and he says that there is negotiations ongoing. They are going smoothly.
Very strong talks. Mr. Witkoff and Mr. Kushner had them. They went, I would say, perfectly. I would say that if they carry through with that, it'll end that problem, that conflict. And I think it'll end it very, very substantially. We have very much in mind our partners in the Middle East. We've had great relationships with a lot of them, as you know. A lot of them were surprisingly hit, and I was surprised to see it, and so was everyone else. But we have, they're very much in mind in the discussions. So the discussions took place yesterday. They went into yesterday evening. They want very much to make a deal. We'd like to make a deal, too. We're going to get together today by probably phone, because it's very hard to find a country. It's very hard for them to get out, I guess. But we'll at some point
So conversations are going to be ongoing today. As it stands right now, the Iranian regime has another 5 days to get these negotiations done, or that energy infrastructure is going to be taken out. We've heard the administration on our side, the Trump administration, signal this before, that they could take out all of their electricity infrastructure in about an hour if they wanted to go that route. I mean, that creates other problems. It certainly does, because if you go after their energy infrastructure, well, they're going to go after all the Middle Eastern energy infrastructure, and it's going to result in chaos. But if the negotiations don't go well, President Trump has said that they could just fall back with Old Faithful, which is what they have been doing, which is bombing their little hearts out. This was the president moments ago before he got on the plane for Memphis.
Very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
Oh, jeez. We can talk it out, or we can bomb it out.
I'll make that deal. How about you, bitch? You make that deal?
I'd make that deal.
I don't blame you. Damn good deal.
With settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
Yep, that's what they're going to do. It's a deal. I mean, I don't know if Iran likes the deal.
There's your 2027 Valentine's Day card.
Honestly. He was asked who he's negotiating with in Iran, who is the new leader, and he wouldn't disclose it because he said he doesn't want them to be killed, was his exact words. And I see this. I haven't heard it yet. I'm reacting in real time with all of you on all this audio from the president. But the caption says that he refuses to disclose who is leading Iran right now because I don't want them to be killed. And I would just say, isn't that your call one way or the other? You know? If I say his name out loud too many times, we have to bomb him.
Be running it, and they seem that based on really fact, because things they've said have taken place.
Mr. President,
Again,
Mr. President, I know you've deployed.
because I don't want them to be killed. Okay, I don't want them to be killed.
Mr. President, you've deployed.
Nobody wants to be that. Nobody wants that job right now. You know, nobody's exactly looking forward to being the head of that particular country. But perhaps we'll be able to solve that problem.
Mr. President, you've deployed.
So he doesn't want to name him, doesn't want him to be killed. I mean, I'm sure that there's some thought process in there about the Iranians going after the guy who's trying to negotiate with Trump as well. Nobody wants that job right now. He is absolutely right. He did lay out once again the demands for Iran, and it's no nuclear bomb, no nuclear weapon, not even close to it. It is low key on the missiles and peace in the Middle East. He said, we want the nuclear dust, we don't want enrichment, and we want the uranium that you have already enriched. These are the demands from the president.
What do you want from these talks?
I'm taking CNN over Newsmax.
What exactly are you looking for in these talks, Mr. President?
We're looking for all of the things that we've been talking about. We want to see no nuclear bomb, no nuclear weapon, not even close to it, low key on the missiles. We want to see peace in the Middle East. We want the nuclear dust. We're going to want that. And I think we're going to get that.
Uranium?
We've agreed to that. Yeah, we've agreed to that.
You want the enriched uranium before you can end this
And
war.
we want no enrichment, but we also want the enriched uranium. If this happens, it's a great start for Iran to build itself back, and it's everything that we want. And it's also great for Israel, and it's great for the other Middle Eastern countries, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, all of them, Kuwait and Bahrain in particular. So it's great for all of them.
So that's where he stands. And, I mean, we kind of knew those qualifiers beforehand. But the president giving those comments before he got on the plane to go to Memphis. Another topic of conversation before he got on that plane was ICE agents at TSA checkpoints. And we're going to be talking a lot about that today. There's been a lot of Democrats losing their ever-loving minds over the fact that TSA has now been deployed to our nation's airports. I'm sure that there's a lot of travelers, right, left, and center, who are actually pretty grateful today, instead of standing in 5-hour-long lines, that they'll be able to get through TSA a little bit quicker. But when the president was asked about TSA and putting ICE agents there, he said, I think it's very appropriate that we do this. Why wouldn't we? And I think he's right. I mean, we want them getting rid of illegal aliens, but the pressure that this puts on the Democrats is fantastic. I mean, you guys are so strung out about ICE. Well, you're keeping the government shut down because of it, and now guess what? You're dealing with more ICE agents. Also, let's also talk about how it's probably going to, tamp down on the congestion a little bit, because illegal aliens probably aren't going to want to fly while ICE agents are at TSA, right? I mean, I think that helps. But the president backing up that plan.
ICE has done very well. I've requested. Now, I'm a big believer that they should be able to wear masks when they go and hunt down murderers, criminals, and others. But for purposes of the airport, I've requested that they take off the mask. I don't like it for the airport, and I believe they are willing to do that.
Mr.
Why do
President,
they wear masks not at the airport, but they need to do it when they're out in the country?
The people coming into the airport, typically speaking, aren't murderers, killers, drug dealers, etc. There may be a few of them, but there are many. They're people that want to come into the country, or that people want to leave the country, go into maybe their home country. So I didn't think it was an appropriate look for an airport. I think it's a very appropriate look when they're out on the street trying to find one of the 11,888 murderers that Sleepy Joe Biden led into our country.
So no masks for the ICE agents at the airports. I think that's the right call. I mean, you don't want to have that turn into a weaponized conversation, and they don't really need them at the airport, if we're being perfectly honest. I don't think there's going to be any ICE Watch activists trying to stop them from blocking an exit or helping people get through line. I don't think that's going to happen. But on the ICE front, if you don't like ICE, well, Donald Trump says if this doesn't work, maybe we bring in the National Guard.
It's great. Let him do that. And I want to thank ICE because they stepped in so strongly. They'll do great. And if that's not enough, I'll bring in the National Guard. We're not going to have the Democrats destroy our country. These people are the most destructive, sick people, the Democrats. They want, and they're fighting for this. They're fighting for men and women's sports. They're fighting for transgender for everybody. Everybody go out, get your kid a nice operation, and change the sex of your kid. They're fighting for, think of it.
They're nuts. Get your kid a nice operation. Yikes.
Yeah.
He's not wrong.
It's true.
The Democrats are absolutely insane. Bat bleep crazy. The president had a lot more to say before he got on the plane. He was asked a little bit more about Iran. He was asked about the Save America Act, and he was also asked about Joe Kent. Now, we'll dive into all these comments from the president on the way. Plus, we got a lot more to talk about when it comes to the escalation that we saw over the weekend. The missile that was launched at Diego Garcia, it kind of changes the calculation for a lot of European countries because they didn't think that they were within harm's way for Iranian missiles. But what we saw over the weekend changed everything. Absolutely everything. A missile was launched at Diego Garcia, which is a U.S.-UK military base in the Indian Ocean. And this missile went about 3,700 to 4,000 kilometers, which is further than anybody knew Iran could go. Maybe when we talk about the president having classified intelligence that we're not privy to, maybe this was one of those pieces of classified intelligence when he said that Iran was an imminent threat. Now, there have been people that have come out. Joe Kent comes to mind, and he says, no, they're not an imminent threat. They were never an imminent threat. You're crazy. This is before he was known to be being investigated for the FBI leaks. He had been cut out of all the intelligence briefings before Operation Epic Fury launched, and I think he's going on this podcast tour to get in front of the FBI investigation, and he's going to use this as an angle to say he's being politically persecuted. But Joe Kent went on the podcast network and went on and had an interview with Tucker Carlson. Says, no imminent threat. They were never an imminent threat. This missile launch completely says the opposite, that this is an imminent threat for some of the biggest cities in the Western world, and that our allies are at great risk, without a doubt. So we'll talk about that on the way as well. We'll also dive more into the TSA ICE collab that we're seeing, and I think a lot of people are excited about this, as long as, they don't vote Democrat. But we'll talk about that also. There's a lot to get to. On the way, though, we'll dive more into the Diego Garcia launch, and then we'll talk about Joe Kent. Donald Trump went absolutely off on Joe Kent before he got on that plane to Memphis. I'll bring you those comments when we get back. We got a lot to get to, a little bit of time. It's 9:21. This is Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Coming up, who exactly is President Trump speaking with in Iran? He says those talks have been productive. It's coming up at 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Don't say their name, Joan.
Don't say it.
We don't want them to get killed. Joan Jones with the headlines on the way. My name is Chris Hand. Show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can listen to the show anywhere. iHeartRadio, tune in the FM dial. You can watch us. Super Talk TV is up and running on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and Rumble. Smash the subscribe button. Do it for us, will you? It's free to do, and it helps us grow the digital footprint of the radio station, which is a big deal. So Donald Trump, he's about to get on Air Force One. He's heading to Memphis today. People are very excited. He's coming to Memphis. He's going to tout the huge success of the Memphis operation. What was it? Memphis Safe Task Force?
Yeah.
Memphis Safe Task Force. So they have a lot of wins to detail. This is what it looks like when local governments cooperate with the federal government and get stuff done. It's a huge victory. But before he got on the plane, he's being asked a million questions in one, and Donald Trump has taken all of the time to answer all of these questions. Joe Kent came up. And Joe Kent is a topic of conversation because Joe Kent said Iran is not an imminent threat. They're just not. They're not an imminent threat to anybody. But there was a missile launch on, was it Thursday into Friday? And it was at the U.S.-UK joint military base Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. Now, to be fair, neither of these missiles were on target. I mean, let's not beat around the bush. They missed. They both missed. The first one likely failed mid-flight due to malfunction, and then the second one was engaged. So probably shot out of the air by a U.S. warship using an SM-3 interceptor. But the range is what has everybody raising eyebrows because that range puts London, Paris, Berlin, Rome, all of these major Western cities in the crosshairs of Iran. Now, just a reminder, Joe Kent said that Iran was not an imminent threat. Donald Trump was asked about Joe Kent this morning before he got on that plane to Memphis.
Mr. President, do you know whether Joe Kent was leaking?
Look, I'm not a fan of the guy. If you look at, and you never cover this, if you look at his truths or whatever he went on, if it's X or truth, if you look at his truths or his statements, he was all for everything. All of a sudden, he wasn't. He was a man that I met at Dover. He came and his wife was killed. He remarried fairly quickly. His wife was killed, and I felt badly for him. He ran for Congress, he lost. He ran for Congress again, and he lost. I said, you know, he's a guy, nice guy, seemed like a very nice guy. I met him, he was pretty heartbroken, but I said, you know, it's a shame. He ran for Congress twice. Call him up, give him a job in the White House. Smart. They gave him a job in the White House, and this is what he does to me, you know? Being a nice guy doesn't pay off too much.
No, I mean, it absolutely doesn't. I think it's also important to point out that maybe we should have done a little bit more background snooping on Joe Kent before you gave him that job. He was a libertarian. He was a Democrat. He voted for Bernie Sanders in the 2020 primary, and then he became a libertarian, and then he became a Republican to run for Congress. Donald Trump mentioned it, 2020. He's tweeting at the president saying, you got to bomb Iran. 2026. Oh, my gosh, they're not an imminent threat. Donald Trump continues.
Think of it. He loses twice in Congress, ran not very good campaigns, should have won, but he loses twice. How do I get him? I have my people call him, because I didn't deal with him for the most part. I saw him a couple of times, but I never dealt with him at all. I had no idea his ideology was left or right, whatever it is. I can say this. He said very strongly that Iran is not a threat. Iran's been a threat for 47 years, and there's not a country in the world that doesn't agree with me on that. So I take this guy, Joe Kent, who lost twice for Congress, pretty badly and tough, and was devastated, and I know that he lost his wife. So instead of letting him live out his life, I brilliantly have my people call him and offer him a job in security, essentially, in the White House.
I mean, when you hear the president put it that way, it makes what Joe Kent did feel even slimier. We'll talk about this a little bit more on the way. It's 9:31. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A pause in the plans to take out Iran's energy infrastructure. President Trump announcing on Truth Social that he has had productive discussions with Iran's leadership. Now, reporters asked him exactly who he's talking with. Is it the son of the former Ayatollah?
We don't know if he's living. But the people that seem to be running it, and they seem that based on really fact, because things they've said have taken place.
So he was speaking with reporters there as he prepared to board a plane to come to Memphis. He's given Iran 5 days to come to full agreement to stop further attacks. That announcement caused stocks to jump at the open, and they are still higher this morning. The Dow Jones Industrial's up 903 points, and crude oil is trading lower, too, down below $100 a barrel for the first time in days. It's at $96.94 a barrel at the moment. ICE agents arriving at Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport this morning and a bunch of other airports. There to lend a hand to TSA agents as they process flyers through the long lines, now 6 hours long in some places. The problem, of course, is the lack of funding for TSA as Democrats refuse to fund DHS. The Democrats, however, are still blaming President Trump.
Democrats are accusing the president of playing politics. Minority Leader Chuck Schumer saying, quote, it's unacceptable for workers and travelers to get taken hostage in political games. We are 38 days into this partial government shutdown, and Democrats are still holding firm on their demands for changes to the Department of Homeland Security after the shooting and killing of Alex Preddy and Renee Good down in Minneapolis.
That's ABC's Rachel Scott. Lawmakers set to go out of town on Friday for a 2-week recess. Right now, there's no deal in sight. The chaos at the nation's airports intensifying after the deadly collision between a regional jet from Canada and a fire truck. It happened at New York's LaGuardia Airport overnight. Dozens of passengers were injured, and some of them are in serious condition.
Sadly, the 2 pilots are confirmed deceased, and notifications are being made by Air Canada's care team at this time.
That's Port Authority Executive Director Catherine Garcia. She says that airport remains closed. That is the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
38 minutes past the hour. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name is Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. If you need a water filtration system, you got to go to betterwater.com. If you want to listen to the radio show, you can do it anywhere. iHeartRadio, tune in the FM dial. You can watch us as well. Super Talk TV is up and running. Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Rumble. Smash the subscribe button, especially on YouTube and Rumble. Help us grow that digital footprint of the radio station. Free to do, and it helps us tremendously. I got a text here. I got a text from 1422. It said, Iran was not a threat until we started attacking them. Sounds so stupid when you're gone. When Trump is gone, Tennessee is not going to let you hang around once Trump is gone. I hope you know that you can go to cheerleader for him wherever he's at and his retirement home. I read that verbatim, by the way. Word for word, bar for bar. So I just said, call in. Call in. Can't today. Driving. Bad service. I will later this week. Have a good day, guys. Stop glazing Trump. You're going to have to justify it when he's gone. No, I won't. And I don't think we glaze him too hard at all, actually. Iran wasn't an imminent threat until we started attacking them. Oh, weird. How about you go talk to a veteran missing an arm or a leg because of a roadside bomb that was supplied by Iran? Tell them how much of a threat they weren't. That'd be a good conversation for you to have. You're welcome to do it. And what we learned over the weekend is Iran was actually a lot more of a threat than we gave them credit for. We had said ad nauseum, the president is privy to information that we are not as the public. And there had to be something behind the scenes that made him feel like now was the time to move. And I think the question begins at, was this it? Was the launch on Diego Garcia something that the president knew that they had the capability of? It wouldn't shock me if he knew. The Iranian missile launch targeted the joint U.S.-UK military base at Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. This was late Thursday night into Friday morning, depending on time zones in the reporting. Multiple sources, including U.S. officials cited by the Wall Street Journal, CNN, Reuters, BBC, and others, confirmed Iran fired 2 intermediate-range ballistic missiles toward the base. Now, neither hit the target. Thank God. One reportedly failed mid-flight. The other was engaged by a U.S. warship using an SM-3 interceptor. But this demonstrated a much larger range than we thought that Iran had the capability for. So it was 3,700 to 4,000 kilometers, way beyond their previously claimed limits. The event broke publicly over the weekend, and a lot of people began talking about it. In fact, there's and I will say this, there's a huge portion online that say this is a false flag, that Iran didn't launch those missiles. I'm leaning towards the official reporting. I think that makes the most sense. Why wouldn't they launch these missiles? Maybe it was a false flag. I'm open to new information changing my mind, but the only information that I've seen pointing to it being the false flag is just randos on the internet screaming, this is a false flag. I don't know. Maybe it was. I'm open to it. But the only thing that I've seen pointing towards that direction is, again, randoms online going, this was a false flag. The U.S. ambassador to the UN, Mike Waltz, was talking about the Iranian missile launch towards Diego Garcia over the weekend on the weekend shows.
I can tell you that UK...
Oh, hang on one second. Sorry, I got too many things running in the background at the exact same time. Where was that coming from? Here we go. This is Mike Waltz, and he's talking about the Diego Garcia launch.
I can tell you that UK just condemned the firing of an intermediate range ballistic missile at Diego Garcia. That same type of missile Iran has lied about in terms of its development and said they were not developing, yet they just lied. Yet they just did it. Not only could it hit Diego Garcia, it could hit capitals in Europe. And Margaret, the technology, the booster technology that Iran has been hiding behind its space program, I don't think we're going to see Iranian astronauts on the moon anytime soon. That this space program has been hiding that technology. You have the reentry technology. To marry the two really doesn't take very much in terms of technological development. And we just have to, thank God the president is taking action now and stopping this march towards a fully fledged nuclear program instead of waiting until after it's developed, like we saw in North Korea under the Clinton administration, say, surprise, we now have a full program.
So, I mean, that's kind of where we stand right now. Where do you believe the truth is? I tend to believe the administration here. I'm open to new information changing my mind. Again, randos online are screaming that this was a false flag event in order to do what? I don't know. We're already in a war with them, So I don't understand the ends justifying the means on a false flag there. We're already in the conflict. But it does change the calculations a bit. Did the president know about this before we launched the operation? I mean, that's a question that a lot of people are going to ask. We don't have the answers for it yet. What we do know is that the U.S. military has been rocking all weekend. They did bomb the Iranian nuclear site Natanz, their main nuclear site where they were enriching uranium before. And we have this on good authority. This was reported all weekend long that Natanz was hit again by a U.S. airstrike.
Overnight, you mentioned Natanz getting bombed. That's one of the 3 nuclear enrichment sites that was hit during Operation Midnight Hammer. It's located 150 miles south of Tehran. As you mentioned, that is Iran's main nuclear enrichment site where they enrich uranium-235, that isotope. Not sure we have a periodic table available, but some of the officials I've spoken to about this strike say this is likely to detect if there is enriched uranium in this site. If you bomb the target and no uranium or radiation, more importantly, detected, that means either you didn't hit it or it's not located there. So expect some strikes on Fordo and Isfahan. Those are the other 2 sites struck during Midnight Hammer. That could be what's coming up next. Now, President Trump offering a battle update brief to reporters aboard Air Force One. He posted.
So that's where we are. The U.S. military is still hammering their nuclear sites, still hammering all of their targets, but the Strait of Hormuz remains closed. However, maybe the news over the weekend has gotten some of our allies a bit of a swift kick in the bottom because we now have more than 20 nations spanning from Asia to Europe to the Gulf that have expressed a readiness to contribute to the efforts of opening up the Strait of Hormuz amid the threats by the Islamist regime in Iran. A readiness to contribute. It doesn't exactly sound very strong, but it's better than where we were last week. In a joint statement released on Saturday morning, Australia, Bahrain, Canada, Denmark, Estonia, Finland, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, Latvia. We got to have Latvia. Lithuania, the Netherlands, New Zealand, Norway, Republic of Korea, Romania, Slovenia, Sweden, United Arab Emirates, and the United Kingdom condemned in the strongest terms the recent attacks by Iran against unarmed civilian shipping vessels, its attacks on the oil and gas infrastructure throughout the Gulf, and its move to shut down traffic in the Strait of Hormuz, saying, "We express our deep concern about the escalating conflict. We call on Iran to cease immediately its threats, laying of mines, drone and missile attacks, and other attempts to block the strait to commercial shipping, and to comply with the UN Security Council Resolution 2817, the group of nations said. Freedom of navigation is a fundamental principle of international law, including under the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. The effects of Iran's actions will be felt by people in all parts of the world, especially the most vulnerable. We emphasize that such interference with international shipping and the disruption of global energy supply chains constitute a threat to international peace and security. In this regard, we call for an immediate comprehensive moratorium on attacks on civilian infrastructure, including oil and gas installations. We express our readiness to contribute to appropriate efforts to ensure safe passage through the strait. We welcome the commitment of nations who are engaging in preparatory planning." So it sounds like they're getting ready. NATO Secretary Secretary General Mark Rutte, he was talking about the 22 nations that are lining up, the 20-plus nations that are lining up, getting ready to field the call for the president. And he says that this is good news that these nations are getting ready to step in.
Okay. That most politicians, it resonates with them what the president is doing here, which is degrading Iran's capability to be, again, an exporter of chaos, share chaos to the region, to the world.
Well, I'm sure the president appreciates your praise, but he has been very frustrated and made that clear this week with NATO and the European allies. He called NATO, quote, a paper tiger without the U.S. He said they complain about high oil prices when they're forced to pay, but they don't want to help open the Strait of Hormuz. Easy for them. Cowards. We will remember.
I've been in several conversations this week with the president, and the good news is that, look, we had the US for weeks planning for epic fury, and for reasons of security and safety, they could not share with European allies and allies around the world and partner countries what they were doing, because that would have jeopardized the effect of the first attack.
Or it would have allowed you to
So it is only
plan.
logical that European countries needed a couple of weeks to come together. But at this moment, the good news is this, that since Thursday, 22 countries, most of them NATO, but also Japan, Korea, Australia, New Zealand, Bahrain, the UAE, have come together to basically answer 3 questions. What do we need? When do we need it, and where do we need it? These 3 questions are now worked through to answer the president's call to make sure that we secure the free sailing through the Strait of Hormuz.
That was Secretary General of NATO, Mark Rutte. You can hear Margaret Brennan there on CBS's Face the Nation. She's trying to bait him in to dissing the president. He doesn't take the bait. The president this morning talking about his Iran operation. And listen, he said, they're calling me to negotiate. We saw the ultimatum that was laid out over the weekend. You got 48 hours or we're taking out all of your infrastructure. President Trump said that apparently that ultimatum got him a phone call.
If these talks go well and you reach
I don't think he's going to be a Nashville.
if these talks go well and you reach a ceasefire agreement with Iran, do you believe Israel would abide by that agreement?
I think Israel will be very happy with what we have. We just spoke to Israel a little while ago. I think they'll be very happy. This will be peace for Israel, long-term peace, guaranteed peace. If this happens, and I can't guarantee it, but I think it's going to. My life is a deal. That's all I do is deals my whole life. I think this is something that's going to happen. And why wouldn't it happen? So tomorrow morning sometime, their time, we were expected to blow up their largest electric generating plants that cost over $10 billion to build. It's a very good one. There was no dearth of money. And one shot, it's gone. It collapses. Why would they want that? So they called. I didn't call. They called. They want to make a deal. And we are very willing to make a deal. It's got to be a good deal. And it's got to be no more wars, no more nuclear weapons. They're not going to have nuclear weapons anymore. They're agreeing to that. Any of that stuff, there's no deal.
So where we stand right now is that we have 22 nations with a readiness to contribute on the Strait of Hormuz. We have the current regime in Iran calling the president to make a deal, and we're going to see what happens next. The president said on the Strait of Hormuz, we might actually have a joint control of the Strait of Hormuz with the Iranian regime after the new regime is officially announced.
And who's in control of it? Will Iran still be able to control the flow of oil?
Be jointly controlled.
By who?
Maybe me. Maybe me.
You want the United States to be in
Me
control
and
of
the
Strait of
Ayatollah, whoever the Ayatollah is, whoever the next Ayatollah. Look, and there'll also be a form of a very serious form of a regime change. Now, in all fairness, everybody's been killed from the regime. They're really starting off. There's automatically a regime change. But we're dealing with some people that I find to be very reasonable, very solid. The people within know who they are. They're very respected. And maybe one of them will be exactly what we're looking for. Look at Venezuela, how well that's working out.
So the president says we might have a joint control of the Strait of Hormuz. This is all breaking this morning. We are keeping all of our eyes on this, and we'll bring you any developments as they become available. At the exact same time, with all of this tension and conflict in the Middle East, the airports actually seem a bit calmer today in America, and it's because of the actions of President Trump. TSA found a little bit of backup in the form of ICE. We'll talk about that on the way, plus the absolute frothing at the mouth reaction from the Democrats over the weekend. The Democrats continually vote to keep the DHS shut down, keep TSA agents going unpaid, and now they're mad that the agency they want to shut down, which is fully funded, is showing up to back them up. Got it. We'll break all that down and more on the way. It's 9:53. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville. Aaron Parker is a good friend, and he knows security. And if you're a gun owner, or I guess anybody really storing valuables at your home, let me give you a quick piece of advice. Don't buy a safe based on a sale price. A lot of the safes that you're going to see at big box stores, I mean, they look impressive, but they're built for marketing. They're not built for protection. If a teenager can tip over your safe, you bought a filing cabinet, not a safe. If you want a safe that's actually going to protect what matters, call Parker Safes and Vaults in Shelbyville. They carry well-known brands like Liberty and Rhino Metals, but also serious high-security safes from companies like Graph Under, American Security, ISM, and Incas. Safes built to protect firearms, precious metals, cash, passports, even the photo albums and family heirlooms. Aaron Parker knows security. He's an Air Force security veteran, and this is a true family business. Aaron and his sons handle and deliver everything themselves discreetly and professionally. Based in Shelbyville, but they serve everywhere in Middle Tennessee. Find a detailed video review for every safe they have in stock on their YouTube page. Search Parker Safes on YouTube or go right to the source, parkersafes.com. That's parkersafes.com. 9:59, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Ham. We're less than a minute away from headlines with Joan Jones. On the way, we're going to talk about TSA and ICE, the new collab. It's taking the streets by storm. Everybody's talking about it. It's so hot in the streets right now. Who came up with this idea?
Put ICE in the airport.
We're dealing really...
Whose idea was it?
Mine. That was mine.
And can I ask you
That was like the paperclip. You know the story of the paperclip? 182 years ago, a man discovered the paperclip. It was so simple. And everybody that looked at it say, why didn't I think of that? ICE was my idea. First person I called was Tom Homan. I said, what do you think? He said, I think it's great. Then I saw today there was some masks on. I didn't think the masks were appropriate. I put out a statement and I asked them, would it be possible to take off the mask? Because they should wear a mask when they're dealing with the murderers and the thugs let into our country.
Whose idea was it, sir? It was mine. Have you heard of the paperclip? It's just, he's got a way with words. He really does. We'll talk about the ICE TSA collab, the meltdown from the left, and more on the way after the headlines with Joan Jones, which starts right now on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, now 10 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. A turnaround on the markets this morning after an announcement from the White House that it's postponing attacks on Iranian energy facilities.
Practically as soon as President Trump hit send on his social media post announcing productive conversations had been happening between the U.S. and Iran, Dow futures jumped 1,000 points and the price of oil dropped. Brent crude futures, the global benchmark, fell 5% to $106 a barrel after briefly reaching more than $114 a barrel earlier.
That's Sherry Preston from ABC News reporting. Right now, the Dow Jones Industrials are up 1,034 points, and oil is trading below $100 a barrel, now at $96.42 a barrel. 14 U.S. airports now seeing ICE agents helping out at the TSA checkpoints. Those airports include Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson, Chicago O'Hare, and also Cleveland Hopkins. Doug Crulin, president and CEO at BNA, says things are much different in Tennessee.
Our TSA employees in Tennessee are motivated. They've been showing up, and that keeps us flowing very smoothly. If they don't show up in Atlanta, you can imagine with 4 times the volume how soon it would back up, and then trying to clear all those passengers is a big challenge.
He was speaking with Dan Mandis earlier this morning. Now, TSA wait times at Nashville this morning are under 10 minutes. Meantime, LaGuardia Airport in New York is still closed after an airplane ran into a fire truck that was on the tarmac overnight. 2 pilots are dead, 9 people are in the hospital.
Images show the plane's nose destroyed, the entire plane tilted up into the air, shreds of the plane hanging to the runway below. The mangled fire truck on its side in the grass, surrounded by debris. Our New York station WABC speaking with 2 of the passengers.
Just heard a loud bang, and then everyone's like freaking out, not knowing what to do.
LaGuardia, one of the nation's busiest airports, closing down immediately.
ABC's Gio Benitez reporting air traffic controllers okayed that fire truck to cross over the runway to respond to another airplane that had signaled it needed help. And TSB is investigating. And in local news, a police cruiser involved in an early morning crash in Goodlettsville this morning. That crash causing traffic delays for hours Monday morning on Long Hollow Pike near Cartwright Street and I-65 at an on-ramp there. Now, images from the scene show a police car with its hood crushed on itself. This came after an overhead sign fell onto I-65 in the northbound lanes in the overnight hours in Goodlettsville. Crews worked to clear that sign and open the roadway after a few hours. That is the latest news. We've got your weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
That was like the paperclip. You know the story of the paperclip? 182 years ago, a man discovered the paperclip. It was so simple. And everybody that looked at it say, why didn't I think of that? ICE was my idea. First person I called was Tom Homan. I said, what do you think? He said, I think it's great.
And the rest was history. The rest was, it was just in motion. 10:07, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. You've heard of the paperclip, haven't you? So simple, so smooth. Everybody says, man, if only I could have thought of that. Post-it note, same thing. Post-it note. Glue stick, also an invention. People said, wow, why didn't I think of that? He's talking about sending ICE to the airports to back up TSA. The left is very upset about it, as they tend to be with anything Donald Trump does. He could say oxygen is awesome, and they'd be wearing plastic bags over their heads. He could cure cancer, and they'd be saying, well, he put doctors out of jobs. He could honestly give just everybody the best economy, the best everything, and there would be something to complain about. People will find ways to complain about this. Although it's benefiting all travelers, Democrats, Republicans, leftists, conservatives, libertarians, centrists. They're all being benefited by this today. As we know, the airport lines have been insane. Just some of the headlines from over the weekend. We'll put them up on the screen for you if you're watching on Super Talk TV. Houston Flyers face 3-hour security lines as shutdown takes toll on TSA workforce. Security line delays grow at Hartsfield-Jackson. Passengers waiting as much as 5 hours before boarding. Massive TSA line stretched to parking lot at LaGuardia. New Orleans Airport faces Sunday morning chaos amid long lines and shutdown. Are you going to an airport if you got to wait 5 hours in security? I would honestly rethink everything. I would rethink my entire vacation. That's how much I hate waiting in a line. And if I knew that I had to wait in line for 5 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours, I might not go. I'd be like, I'm just going to stay in bed, actually. I'm going to stay home. I'm not going to go to work, but I'm going to take this week and I'm just going to stay at home. That's probably what I would do. I feel like a lot of people would do that, right? Is it just me? Mason, would you stay home? Would you end up staying home?
I'd probably stay home.
It would probably stay home. We both would. I don't want to wait in lines in general.
No.
It's not a fun thing. Not a fun thing at all. And if I knew that I had to wait in line to be groped or x-rayed and get all the cancer, no. I'm passing. I would pass pretty quickly.
Not a ride I want to take.
It's not for me. It's not for me. The Atlanta Airport TSA line at one point was wrapping around the luggage, the baggage claim area. It was just chaos. I don't know how you describe it any other way.
A look at what is going on here right now. Just to give some perspective, this is the baggage claim side of the airport. The TSA check-in spot is completely on the other side. People have to start over here and weave their way until eventually making it closer to the main checkpoint. People have been waiting for 3-4 hours in these lines.
Insane.
People are missing flights, some making it just before the boarding doors close.
Who doesn't want to wait in line for 4 hours, get hungry, and then has to spend $400 on a Subway sandwich?
So this has been a lot for people traveling as these TSA officers continue to go with $0 paychecks. And I got to say, Kevin, surprisingly, people have been in good spirits, trying to stay positive while they can. But
I mean, let's also be honest. Everybody that's going to the airport knows what they're going into, right? Like, I don't think anybody's going to be caught by surprise and go full Karen. It's not the TSA workers' fault, and everybody knows that. But Secretary Duffy, Transportation Secretary, broke it down over the weekend. The number had been 300 agents that had quit. That number has risen to 400 agents that have quit. I'm surprised that this isn't in the thousands, because could you continue on if you were making $50,000 a year, and for the second time in 6 months, your money has been interrupted because of the ineptitude of the federal government? No, I would be looking for another job immediately. You would too. We all would. And I don't blame these TSA workers at all. But the number of TSA agents that have been forced to quit their jobs because of Chuck Schumer and the Democrats is now up to 400, according to Secretary Duffy.
So I think as we look forward to Friday, that's when the next paycheck should come. And if this Homeland Security funding isn't resolved, I think you're going to see more TSA agents as we come to Thursday, Friday, Saturday of next week. They're going to quit or they're not going to show up. A lot of the starting salaries at TSA, they're right around $50,000. So if you live in, one of the big cities of America, LA or New York or Miami, it's hard for these individuals already to make their ends meet. But without getting paychecks, it's even that much more challenging.
He's absolutely right. I mean, listen, you're not becoming a millionaire working at TSA. You're just not. And then if you're in New York, what, you're commuting to the airport to get in there to then work TSA? Like, no. I mean, there's a good chance that a lot of these agents that have had to quit are living paycheck to paycheck. And when the government steps in and says, yeah, well, we're gonna use this for leverage against the conservatives, the pawns that are being used here are the TSA agents, and that's not fair at all.
And so they're going to take other jobs to put food on the table and pay the rent. So I do think it's going to get much worse. And as it gets worse, I think that puts pressure on the Congress to come to a resolution. Democrats have to say, you know what? We're not going to defund this. We're going to actually work together, have some common sense reform that the president will work with us on. And, let's get America working again. And the last thing you want as you travel is to deal with political fights at the airport. Let that stay in Congress, but don't extract pain out of me and my family as I'm trying to just go to Florida and get some sun on my bones during spring break with my kids.
Yeah, but that's leverage, according to the Democrats, and they understand that this is leverage, so they're going to be using it against the American people to get their way when it comes to the fight over ICE funding. President Trump saw that happening in real time and decided, well, I'll send ICE agents to back up TSA, which sent the left into an absolute meltdown.
Confirming that ICE agents will be in airports. Writing on Truth Social on Monday, ICE will be going to airports to help our wonderful TSA agents who have stayed on the job despite the fact that the radical left Democrats, who are only focused on protecting hardline criminals who have entered our country illegally, are endangering the USA by holding back the money that was long ago agreed to with signed and sealed contracts and all.
More than 1,300 flights across the U.S. are already delayed this morning. Madeline Rivera is in Washington with the latest.
So President Trump steps in and says, yeah, no, we're not going to do that. We're not going to let these times stretch into the hours. We're going to send backup in. Tom Homan is one of the guys that he made the phone call to. Tom Homan was on Fox News explaining it with Shannon Bream.
The president made it clear that, we're not going to wait. And he called me this morning and he's tired of waiting and American people being held hostage, at long lines at the airports, TSA not being paid, the Coast Guard, FEMA, all these people, federal employees are working for free. And it's like the third time they went without pay. And the president's tired of it. He's not going to let America be held hostage. Now he's going to, we're going to pivot from there, and we're going to send ICE agents to the airport to help alleviate not only the TSA officers who are overwhelmed and understaffed now because many of them left, but we're going to help the American people transit through the airport quicker and not be held hostage by this foolish shutdown that the Democrats started. I mean, this administration didn't shut the government down. It was the Democratic Party that shut it down.
So that was Tom Homan on Fox News saying, guys, this is twofold. We're not just helping our TSA agents who are being screwed over royally by the Democrat Party. We're also helping out the American people who, spoiler alert, are being screwed over royally by the Democrat Party at these airports. Nobody wants to spend 3, 4, 5 hours in line. Tom Homan on Fox News there. He also went on CNN for their State of the Union show with Dana Bash. It was a bit more back and forth on CNN. Tom Homan saying the master plan right now is to surge the airports, and that's exactly what they're doing. We're witnessing it happening in real time here on this Monday morning, but Tom Homan was laying it all out yesterday.
Put together a plan today, and we'll execute tomorrow.
Okay, so there are a lot of questions here. First of all, are ICE agents even remotely trained to handle security at airports?
What a dumb question. Can we be perfectly honest? This is just ridiculous. Like ICE agents aren't going to be going through your bag, making sure that you don't have any CBD gummies, right? Like that's not what ICE agents are going to be doing. They're going to be relieving them in some of the spots where they can then move TSA agents to where they're most needed. And this is what Tom Homan breaks down here for Dana Bash. Are they even remotely trained? Trained to what? To do what? To guard a door that says no entry? Trained to do what? What do they? How do they need to be trained in order to back up TSA?
ICE agents receive a high level of training. And, the ICE agents are assigned at many airports across the country already. They do a lot of criminal investigation on smuggling at airports. But, there's got TSA agents covering exits, people that enter through the exits. Certainly a highly trained ICE law enforcement officer can cover an exit, makes people don't go through those exits, entering the airport through the exits, and that stuff like that relieves that TSA officer to go to screening and to reduce those lines. So wherever we can provide extra security, I don't see an ICE agent looking at an X-ray machine because they're not trained in that. There are certain parts of security that TSA is doing that we can move them off those jobs and put them in the specialized jobs, help move those lines.
I mean, it makes the most sense. It's obvious when you hear it. Any third grader could have followed that to the conclusion there. Dana Bash has a bit of an issue with it, but it's the left in general. They're losing their minds over this. Dick Blumenthal, tweeted out, ICE agents at airports will only aggravate delays in lines, disrupting checks, interrogating travelers, dragging parents from children, detaining citizens, brutalizing families, shooting and even killing. So, yeah. Listen, ICE is going to be at the airport. They might be killing families. Oh, no. This is what the left wants you to believe. That was Richard Blumenthal, the Democrat senator out of Connecticut. They're going to be killing families. That's what's happening here. We can't keep letting them get away with this. That's what they want you to believe. Robert Garcia, he says that this is proof that Donald Trump wants his own military force. Clearly, he was on MS Now over the weekend. He goes, what this is this just the next step to the dictator, tyrant, authoritarian Donald Trump taking all the reins of power in this country?
Congressman, ICE agents are deploying to airports across the country tomorrow. And I know, of course, that Democrats are outraged, very worried about what this could bring. But in a strange way, I'm wondering if this could end up helping you make your exact point. And what I mean by that is ICE agents, they've been getting their money, getting paid. There's apparently so many of them that they're available on short notice to do a whole new job. And polling suggests that the more that Americans see them and interact with them, the less they like them. So I'm struggling to see the logic here, actually, if I'm Trump or any of his allies.
Yeah, you're struggling. We see it. This takes away the leverage from the Democrats. We have the bodies to be able to help out. It helps the American people. It helps the TSA agents. I know you're struggling. It's very simple. I'm sorry that you're struggling. Rep. Robert Garcia.
That's exactly right. And I think we should be real honest with the public as well. As we know, Donald Trump has supersized the ICE budget. It is larger than it has ever been. It's now a larger agency than all other agencies that do federal law enforcement combined.
Well, that's because Joe Biden let 20 million illegal aliens into this country that we need to get out.
Just ICE alone, larger than the FBI, larger than most militaries around the world. That is the paramilitary force that Donald Trump has always been trying to create from day one. He wants to control and have his own control over this paramilitary domestic army that he is creating with his own rules, with less training, and with people loyal to him.
Why does Donald Trump need a paramilitary if he's already in control of the military? And did anybody explain that to me? He's right. Like, he's the commander in chief. He controls the military, but he also needs a paramilitary. Okay. Got it. The dumbest comment from the Democrats all weekend long, though, was not Robert Garcia. It wasn't even Rich Blumenthal, who said that they're going to be shooting families to the airports, which is just asinine and fear porn. The dumbest comment of the weekend when it came to ICE agents going in to back up TSA was from Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey, which I don't know why they even asked him this, but they did. They certainly did.
If the goal here was safety at airports, he could hire out more TSA agents.
If the goal here is more safety at airports, he could hire more TSA agents. The issue is that those TSA agents aren't being paid. So hire them with what money? Does he know? Does he know that the DHS is shut down? I don't think he knows.
If the goal here was safety at airports, he could hire out more TSA agents that do an incredible job at keeping our airports safe.
That's a good idea, actually. Let's hire more TSA agents and say, don't worry. The pay will start as soon as the Democrats reopen the government. We got a lot more on this. Hakeem Jeffries weighed in, Timu Obama, plus Democrat Senator Chris Murphy. His comments from just a few months ago during the last shutdown completely fly in the face of everything Timu Obama says. We'll bring you that. Elon Musk also receiving nationwide praise for offering to pay TSA workers who are going without paychecks because of Chuck Schumer. Elon's an absolute patriot, and Senator Katie Britt weighing in on all this as well. We'll bring you all that and more on the way. A lot to get to, a little bit of time. 10:22, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
President Trump arriving in Memphis this morning. And what are the wait times at Nashville's airport? We'll take a look. It's coming up at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. About 27 minutes past the hour here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm going through the text line. Phone lines are open for you as well, 615-737-9986. If you want to join the conversation, you can text in, you can call in, you can jump in the YouTube chat, whatever tickles your fancy. Go for it, man. We're here for you. You're welcome to join the show. I got a text here from 5194. And they were talking about, is ICE even trained? Are they even trained for the work that gets done? 5194 texted and said, ICE got to be trained in proper TSA groping. People be groping.
People be groping.
I do. I get groped all the time at the airport. I think it's just, who wouldn't want to grope this, Sorry, too much.
I believe that's your imagination.
Maybe that's too much. I was like, did you really think I was a threat, or did you just think I was handsome?
You just want to grab me from behind.
I do. I try and make it uncomfortable. I think everybody should.
They're already not getting paid. Make them uncomfortable as well.
Yeah. It's like, sir, why are you putting on lipstick? It's like, I like to look pretty before I get groped. Oh, jeez. Calm down. Just make it uncomfortable for them.
Start asking about restaurants. It's like, why are you asking about restaurants? I like to go out to dinner first.
I like to go out to dinner. I like to be treated. You could go that route. It's not recommended.
Not recommended.
No. Hakeem Jeffries is very upset. He's very upset. He was asked by Dana Bash if he is using this as leverage, and now that ICE is going into these airports, they're losing one of their biggest leverage points when it comes to the current shutdown. And Hakeem Jeffries, Timu Obama, says we would never use a government shutdown as leverage.
So let me ask you about that, because you are the whole reason, as you just laid out, that DHS is not funded right now is because you're trying to push the administration to enact some policy changes on how Border Patrol and ICE act when they're out looking for illegal immigrants. And now what you're saying is that you're okay with funding TSA, which has been, I think, the biggest point of leverage that you possibly had in order to get what you want on ICE, because ICE already has its money.
Right.
So what was the point of this shutdown if you're okay with funding TSA?
Well, we never approach these things that are in front of us with respect to government funding in the context of leverage.
Never. They would never. Dana, there's one thing I know about the Democrats. They would never use a government shutdown for leverage, and they would never hurt the American people for leverage. But, if we rewound the tape a little bit, this was the number 2 House Democrat, Catherine Clark, in October, saying families are going to suffer during that government shutdown, but it's one of the few leverage items that they have.
I mean, shutdowns are terrible. And of course, there will be, families that are going to suffer. We take that responsibility very seriously. But it is one of the few leverage times we have.
Oh, it's one of the few. Oh, I thought you never used these shutdowns as leverage. Well, maybe she just misspoke. That's just one Democrat, right? That's not all the Democrats. Chris Murphy, actually, back in November, said the exact same thing, that this is a moment for leverage.
Senator Kaine laid out his reasons for supporting the deal. He says it ends the pain that Americans are feeling. It gets a path to a health care vote. And he says previously there was no evidence Republicans would even talk about a health care vote without the government back open. Is he wrong?
Well, Tim and I just have a disagreement about this. I think we actually lose leverage in.
Oh, leverage. I thought, well, who cares if you lose it? You never use it, right? Never. 1031, Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Well, today is the day that President Trump visits Memphis. He's touring the city where his crime crackdown has been in motion for months. Some residents there are excited about his arrival.
Him coming here shows that he does care about Memphis, and I like that.
The whole point of him coming, hopefully, is to make Memphis better, or the area better, the crime better, so we'll see.
This is an action that shows he's cared. After that, we'll see what happens, but hey, at least he's showing love to the city.
Now, the White House says the president will take part in a roundtable discussion about Memphis and the Safe Task Force there beginning at noon today. New York's LaGuardia Airport is still closed after a devastating crash between an Air Canada airplane and a fire truck on the runway.
Air traffic data shows Air Canada flight 8646 from Montreal landed at LaGuardia at 11:40 p.m. Sometime shortly after touching down, the plane collided nose first with a fire truck. Images show the plane's nose destroyed. The entire plane tilted up into the air. LaGuardia closing down immediately. The FAA issuing a ground stop for all planes headed to the airport.
We know that the two pilots of the airplane were killed and roughly 9 people are hospitalized, some with serious injuries. The NTSB is headed to the airport this morning to investigate. ICE agents are now working alongside TSA agents at 14 of the nation's airports, hoping to alleviate the hours-long TSA lines.
From New York to Houston to New Orleans to Atlanta. It's all about the wait.
4 hours.
To get through airport security and causing the delays, a record 3,250 transportation security agents calling out this weekend, the largest percent since the start of the shutdown.
ABC's Allison Kosick there. No ICE in Nashville, though. TSA wait times remain under 10 minutes here. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
This is a paid endorsement by a current client.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand for Paul Winkler, Inc. So Paul is absolutely my financial advisor, and I've been working with him for years. I'm a big fan of how he teaches as he guides. And you know what? That's the way all of his offices work. They believe that you're going to be more confident when you know what you're doing and why you're doing it. Think about where you actually get most of your information about investing. It's usually in some way coming from investment salespeople, mutual fund companies, or financial shows on TV where they interview people who would love it if you'd buy a stock they own or invest in their latest idea. And you'll hear that financial salespeople messaging talking about guaranteed retirement income, which is usually a code word for high commission annuities. Not the case with Paul. They sit on your side of the table. You need that. Do what I did. Go to paulwinkler.com and set up a 15-minute phone call. Run your situation by them and see how they can help. paulwinkler.com.
Advisory services offered through Paul Winkler Inc., an SEC-registered investment advisor.
About that, because you are the whole reason, as you just laid out, that DHS is not funded right now is because you're trying to push the administration to enact some policy changes on how Border Patrol and ICE act when they're out looking for illegal immigrants. And now what you're saying is that you're okay with funding TSA, which has been, I think, the biggest point of leverage that you possibly had in order to get what you want on ICE, because ICE already has its money. So what was the point of this shutdown if you're okay with funding TSA?
Well, we never approach these things that are in front of us with respect to government funding in the context of leverage.
That's not what we do, Dana. We're Democrats. Everything that we do goes through the lens of helping the American people, obviously. Obviously. It's 1038, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. You're welcome to join it any way you'd like. 615-737-9986. That's the phone number. That's the text line. You can also jump in the chat on the YouTube channel. Jerry in Nashville wants to talk about TSA and ICE. What's up, Jerry? Welcome to the show. Jerry. Is it Jerry, or is it going to be like it was Barry?
I could have sworn he said Jerry, but I could double check if needed.
All right. Well, we'll check on Jerry. We'll do a wellness check, and we'll get back to him in a second. Real quick, though, Mike in Nashville has been holding for a minute. He wants to talk about Trump and Iran. What's up, Mike?
Yeah.
What's up, man?
Chris, I'm gonna have to disagree with you on Donald Trump situation. What you said earlier, we very rarely disagree, but either Donald Trump is a liar, or the guy is not in touch with his with the people that are working for him. Listen, Chris. There's no way that you can go from in 24 hours issuing a threat on Truth Social saying that if Iran does not open up the strait, that they're going to start bombing, and then first thing Monday morning say that they've been given 5 days. That he had to know that his negotiating people, when they're trying to negotiate with these people, it doesn't change that quickly, Chris, to where you can say, you're demanding that they open up the strait, and then 24 hours later, you say that you're giving them 5 extra days. Can you explain that? Can you explain that to me?
I mean, no. Listen.
That sounds like a blatant lie to me.
I think you're absolutely fair, and I think that you're justified in being skeptical. But I'm taking it at face value. He says that they're negotiating. I mean, dude, they would send them back into the Stone Age quick, and it would absolutely hurt their own economy. So, are they negotiating with people?
Let me ask you this, Chris. Let me ask you. Don't you think that sounds real bad for Donald Trump to come on TV and say, he sounds just like me and you, saying that he doesn't know who the leader is and that he doesn't know who they're negotiating with because he doesn't want to get the guy killed. That doesn't sound good, Chris, to say that you don't know who you're negotiating with and you don't want to get a guy's name because you don't want to get killed, even though you killed the previous 2 or 3 leaders that Iran had. Can you justify that?
Well, I think part of that could be he doesn't want the other Iranians to kill him.
No, why would the Iranian people want to kill a new leader? Why would they want to kill him?
If he was negotiating with President Trump to end the conflict and they are Islamic hardliners and they want to keep going until the final destination of this thing?
Okay, well, let me say this final thing right quick.
Like, you get that on some level, right? Like, I think being skeptical is all fair and good, and I'm totally with you on some skepticism here.
Well, let me say this.
But the other side of that coin is just the hardlined Islamists that are running behind the scenes in that country. If they are negotiating with some people in power and trying to get a deal and trying to get this thing ended, I mean, I could see where Trump would be coming from if he doesn't want the Iranians to kill the guy, right?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I understand that. Okay, let me ask you one other thing right quick before I hear with you, Chris. Okay, you got kids, I got kids too. Okay, now, if I give my son an ultimatum that if he doesn't clean his room up, he will not be allowed to play his video games, and then 24 hours later, I come into my son's room and say, wait a minute, I thought about this overnight. I'm going to give you 5 extra days to clean up your room, And if you clean up your room, then you won't receive this punishment.
Yeah, you're like, hey, you know, you got the underwear.
My dad is not going to do what he says he's going to do, Chris.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, you got the underwear in the hamper. It's a good start. We're having some positive negotiations. We're gonna curtail this for 5 days.
But here's the final thing. Here's the final thing I wanted to say.
But no, hold on one sec. Can I respond to that comment real quick? Like, I get where you're coming from, but it completely oversimplifies things. Because if we start taking out their largest electricity generating operation, then they're going to go and they're going to take out the United Arab Emirates energy. They're going to take out Saudi Arabia. They're going to, you know what I mean? Oman and Qatar, and they're going to go down the line and they're going to hit everybody. The ripple effects out from that are going to be decades. So I get where you're coming from on the negotiation aspect of it, but to act like it's as simple as that, it's just not. I mean, the volley that would go back and forth.
Let me say one last thing before I hang up with you, Chris. Basically, this is what you call in my truck driving industry. This is what I see and what other people see. This is basically Iran buying more time. They have just like when they were trying to negotiate with Vladimir Putin, he had no intendency of making a deal with Ukraine. This is buying them more time to hide their nuclear weapons and to hide their program. That's all they're doing is buy. They don't have no regards in trying to sign a deal with Donald Trump. I guarantee you 5 days from now, no deal will be signed. This is Iran trying to buy more time, and I thank you for taking my call.
And you know what, Mike? You might be absolutely right. You might be. You might be. But as it stands now, I mean, I'll lean on what the administration says because it's a short time period before we know if they're telling the truth or not. Like I think Donald Trump does stand by his deadlines. Then I'm willing to take it at face value that he's in some good faith negotiations, like he said. Just like I was willing to take it at face value that they probably had more information than we had when it comes to the imminent threat that Iran was. And there was no proof out there just last week. Yet over the weekend, we hear about the missile launch towards Diego Garcia, the U.S.-UK joint military base, which now puts several major cities in Europe within striking distance of Iran. I mean, I'm willing to believe the president for now. Things could change rapidly. I'll let new information change my mind, but this is what he said on the new Iranian leader.
Be running it, and they seem that based on really fact, because things they've said have taken place.
Mr. President,
again.
Mr. President, I know you've deployed.
I don't want him to be killed. Okay, I don't want him to be killed.
Mr. President, you've deployed.
Nobody wants to be that. Nobody wants that job right now. You know, nobody's exactly looking forward to being the head of that particular country, but perhaps we'll be able to solve that problem.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to be an awful job. Not only do you have to deal with the United States, but then you'd have to deal with the hardline Islamists on both sides. Well, we'll see what happens. Only time is going to tell. I mean, I'm speculating as much as you are. I don't have all the information at hand that the administration does. I'm not privy to the conversations that Donald Trump said that he had. I'm willing to take him at face value until new information changes the discussion. Let's go to Jerry in Nashville. What's up, Jerry?
Hey, Chris. How you doing, buddy?
Good, man. What do you got?
Sorry, I was at work. I had to break away. First of all, my background, you know, I'm prior law enforcement and military, and I actually did security for Trump in Atlantic City, so I know about how he does things. But I just want to remind the audience of one thing, and then I'll hang up, and that is these TSA and DHS, mainly the DHS, people need to remember, not talking about the senior guys who've been there 20 years or 10 or 15, but the newer ones, which is a lot of them. They came in under Obama and Biden, and they were hired to do IRS security and took all these weird combat tactical training, da-da-da. So when Trump got in, he said, okay, you want to do that? Good, I'm going to put you on the border. So now he's pushing them back to TSA. You got 90 million veterans out here who don't have work. Some of them's homeless. They could use the work. They're highly trained. Why not use the veterans? Why are you going to use these people and just shuffle around people that came in under the Democrats? So you know they hired all their buddies instead of getting the veterans who are patriots. That's all I got to say.
Well, so you're talking about ICE in particular.
Yeah, ICE.
Okay, but there's been a massive hiring surge since Trump got in.
I know.
And if to your point, if there are Democrat hires in there that aren't doing the job, then what better place to put them than guarding a door at an airport?
Yeah, but they're paramilitary. They're not military. Military knows how to secure things. Like all these mass shootings, we could lock those schools down overnight and fix that problem. End of story, period, full stop. But they don't do it.
Yeah.
And it's sad, you know?
Well, I mean, when you say that there's 90 million veterans out of work, and
No, not out of work, out here in the country that could use those jobs, a lot of them.
Okay, but so I would just say that they're able to apply. Why haven't they?
Well, they're not hiring vets. They don't want vets in because the deep state's running everything, and they look at the vets as a threat to them. That's why.
Wait, so they're not hiring. You're saying that the current Trump administration is not hiring vets for ICE because the deep state views them as a threat?
Yes.
Okay, other than speculation, what evidence do you have to back that up?
People I know that I talk to that are in the fields that are prior LEO.
But they have gone to apply for these jobs, and they were told that, or they speculate that because they weren't hired, it was because the deep state fears them.
No, they don't go and apply because they already know the Democrats are only going to hire from within their own pool of voting, people. That's like the union, so they can control them.
But we have a new administration, and we have hundreds of TSA jobs, thousands of ICE jobs.
Trump will have to hire a bunch of new people, but I'm just saying you got to get rid of that old guard from Obama and Biden.
Well,
There's a lot of them.
I understand that, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think it adds up that veterans wouldn't be getting hired by ICE currently.
Well, I can't go in. We don't have enough time for that. But that's my theory, okay? It's just my opinion. Other vets can call in and talk to that, but I'm just saying this is what I'm seeing and hearing in my personal experience.
Okay. Hey, Jerry, I appreciate the call, man. Thank you so much. Call in anytime. As far as the current shutdown continues, Hakeem Jeffries over the weekend blaming Republicans.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Republicans have decided that they would rather force TSA agents to work without pay, inconvenience millions of Americans all across the country, and now potentially expose them to untrained ICE agents and create chaos at airports throughout the land rather than get ICE agents under control.
Oh, okay, yeah. It's the ICE agents that are creating the chaos, not the Democrat shutdown. It's the ICE agents why we have 5-hour wait lines around the country. Timu Obama there, Hakeem Jeffries, saying that the Republicans decided they would rather force TSA agents to work without pay. It's funny because the Republicans, meanwhile, are actually trying to make themselves work without pay as the Senate tries to push through a plan, a measure from John Kennedy that would block senator pay during government shutdowns. I wonder if Timu Obama would support this.
I believe if Congress wasn't getting a paycheck right now, that they would be much more eager to find a solution about this. And I believe John Kennedy has a bill, and it says that if we don't do our job and that if people aren't getting paid in the government that have stepped up to serve the United States government, then Congress shouldn't get a paycheck either. I firmly support that. And I think that if that moved through the Senate and the House, that ultimately people will be much more eager to find a resolution. And I am all for it.
That was Senator Katie Britt out of Alabama saying that she is 100% behind John Kennedy's measure to make it so that way Congress doesn't get a paycheck if the government shut down. This is something that we should do. It makes a lot of sense. Meanwhile, also Elon Musk being praised all over the country because he has offered, if you can put the tweet up on the screen for me on Super Talk TV, he said, I would like to offer to pay the salaries of TSA personnel during the funding impasse that is negatively affecting lives of so many Americans at airports and throughout the country. Can we fast track that? He's got the money, right? I think he's good for it. Maybe we run his credit. Maybe we have to run his credit. Just make sure that it's going to go through. But Elon saying that he would pay. Katie Britt says she's all about that as well.
We saw in the last Democrat-led shutdown, longest ever, 43 days, we saw an anonymous donor come in and do about $130 million to make sure that our troops were paid. There was a provision that allowed for that now. I think what we're looking at now is what provisions allow for things like this to happen in the Department of Homeland Security. I appreciate the patriotism because what he's saying is these men and women are coming to work to keep us safe.
Yep, I appreciate the patriotism as well. How much is this shutdown costing the American government? We'll give you the numbers when we get back. It's 10:51. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friend Dr. Mitchell over at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. If you're dealing with back pain, neck pain, sciatica, herniated or bulging discs, spinal stenosis, maybe you got numbness or weakness in your arms, legs, fingers, toes, you don't have to live that way, and you can get back to a pain-free life today with a phone call, and it's going to save you some good money. 47% off right now from the Wellness Institute of Nashville for their non-surgical spinal decompression. Plus, they're the first and only office in the state with a brand new hydrowave technology that is going to stimulate your own stem cells for healing at the cellular level. You pair that with robotic lasers, anti-gravity machines, cryotherapy. You are not going to find more advanced ways to get rid of your pain. What you're not going to find, surgery, opioids, painful injections. This is why Dr. Mitchell needs to be your doctor. Grab your MRI. They'll take x-rays if needed, and it'll walk you through exactly what's happening and give you a real treatment plan to fix the problem. A pain-free life is within reach. It starts with a phone call. 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009, or book some time online. Painisbad.com.
All right, drivers, got some guardrail work blocking the left lane, 24 westbound between the Clay Lick Road overpass and Harper Road overpass in Whites Creek. Murfreesboro crash, left shoulder blocked, 24 westbound before Joe B. Jackson Parkway. 3 marijuana-related bills headed to the General Assembly this week. We'll tell you about them coming up at 11 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
58 minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. We got Mason Fleming producing. You just heard Ken Weaver in the newsroom. You guys are welcome on the phone lines and the text line, as always, 615-737-9986. You're also welcome in the YouTube chat. Just smash that subscribe button while you're in there. It's free to do. Helps us grow the digital footprint of the radio station. We appreciate it. Sandy in the borough is on the line. What's up, Sandy? What do you want to talk about?
Hi. I was driving toward the post office the other day, and I saw a couple signs that I wondered about. They advertise immigration exams and drug tests and fingerprints.
Where did you see the signs?
They were, I was by the post office on Church Street in Murfreesboro.
Yeah, I mean, I see those signs all over the place. What are your thoughts on them? Just curious about them, or not?
Yes, it just sparked my curiosity. I just, I didn't know they did that.
Oh yeah, I mean they have all that stuff all over the borough, and I appreciate the call. I mean, I've seen churches that free English language classes. I mean, it just is what it is. I don't necessarily like or dislike it.
Yeah, I think she's wondering if there are classes for people who are illegal immigrants coming into the country who to be able to take their immigration exams there. I think that might be kind of where she's thinking, but I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe. I don't know. So maybe something to look into.
The borough is a weird place.
The borough is a weird place. All right, we got some more to get into on the way. I want to talk a little bit more about the plan that Scott Bessent laid out last week about unsanctioning Iranian oil. Is the conflict really coming to a close? Are we inching towards that? Or does it seem like it's escalating? Iran's going to be getting a lot of money from this unsanctioned oil, no matter how you slice it. But Scott Bessent defended his plan over the weekend on the Sunday shows, saying flooding the market with oil is actually the right thing to do. We'll bring you those comments on the way. We'll take more of your phone calls as well. 615-737-9986. It's 11 o'clock. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Eleven o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, 3 marijuana-related bills headed to legislative committees this week. One proposal would legalize recreational use and tax it to pay for road and bridge repairs. The other 2 bills call for medical marijuana questions to appear on the November ballot. Lawmakers going to take up all 3 measures starting today. Operation Epic Fury. President Trump put a 5-day hold on further strikes on Iran's energy infrastructure after talks, he said, that started yesterday led to some concessions from Iran.
We're looking for all of the things that we've been talking about. We want to see no nuclear bomb, no nuclear weapon, not even close to it, low key on the missiles. We want to see peace in the Middle East.
Iran has not confirmed that these talks are taking place. Before leaving for Memphis from Florida, President Trump says the ICE agents deployed to help TSA agents clear the logjam, causing passengers to miss flights, shouldn't wear masks at the airports.
The people coming into the airport, typically speaking, aren't murderers, killers, drug dealers, etc. There may be a few of them, but there are many. They're people that want to come into the country, or that people want to leave the country, go into maybe their home country. So I didn't think it was an appropriate look for an airport.
So ICE agents apparently won't be able to assist with bag screening, but they can help TSA officers with some of the crowd control. There were 72 passengers on board that Air Canada flight that collided with a fire truck at LaGuardia Airport. As they were going home, some of them talked with ABC News.
It was just before midnight when that Air Canada flight from Montreal touched down at LaGuardia.
Honestly, sleeping and then landing, and all of a sudden, boom, woke up.
in shock, just didn't know what to do.
Oh, we tried to get off immediately from the
Maybe
plane.
like 4 or 5 minutes. People were first freaking out, not knowing what to do. Everyone got together and was like, hey, we got to get off. We smell smoke.
Emergency doors.
The impact was so strong, the cockpit was destroyed. The pilot and co-pilot both killed. Those passengers walked off the plane safely, but dozens of others were hurt. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
Barbie dolls laced with fentanyl? That's what police in Kansas City are investigating. Independence, Missouri police tipped off that some of the Barbies being sold at discount store Cargo Largo just outside KC may have been contaminated with fentanyl before they arrived at the store to be sold. They did not say who the tip came from or how they knew. Police announced on Facebook that they'd recovered all of the contaminated dolls, but there's no word on how those dolls got there and why the fentanyl was in the Barbie packages to begin with. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. If you don't really know what's happening with the Iran conflict, you're not alone. I mean, the messaging has been all over the board. We had a Truth Social post from President Trump on Friday that said the war is winding down. Then immediately after that, we had an ultimatum of sorts that if they didn't come to the table here, we would be going after their electricity infrastructure. Then we had another Truth Social post this morning that says they came to the table. We're actually having a lot of progress on talks, and they have 5 extra days. While all of this is happening, we have news that the Iran capabilities on missiles are a bit more lengthy than we thought. They were keeping their totals a bit closer to the vest. When we saw the Diego Garcia Iranian missile launch over the weekend making news, it went 3,700 to 4,000 kilometers. 2 missiles were fired. Neither of them hit. One fell apart mid-flight, reportedly failed mid-flight. The other one was intercepted. So nothing bad happened with those missile launches. Thank God. Soldiers are safe. All good. But it kind of opens the door to Iran hitting a lot of Western European cities. London, France, Berlin, you name it. They're all within the crosshairs of Iran now. That brings up the conversation of Donald Trump and how much information he had behind the scenes when he says that Iran is an imminent threat. Did he know about this? Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. We're not privy to those conversations, but the speculation is there. While all this has been happening, you have Scott Bessent and the administration unsanctioning Iranian oil that is already on the water. Now, Scott Bessent went on the talking head shows over the weekend to explain what he was doing. And he was with Kristen Welker. And in Scott Bessent's words, he said that they are jiu-jitsuing the Iranians when it comes to the oil prices. He said that they're using their own oil against them. And this was Scott Bessent on Meet the Press over the weekend.
Talk about your announcement this past week. On Friday, the Treasury Department lifted sanctions on Iranian oil stored on tankers, a move that would effectively allow Iran to get more than $14 billion of oil revenue. Why is the U.S. helping to fund a country that it's currently at war with, Mr. Secretary?
Again, Kristen, why don't we have good facts here? That Iranian oil was always going to be sold to the Chinese. It was going to be sold at a discount. So which is better, Kristen? Which is better? If oil prices spiked to $150 and they were getting 70% of that, or oil prices below 100, it's better to have them where they are now. And to be clear, we had always planned for this contingency. About 140 million barrels are out on the water. In essence, we are jiu-jitsuing the Iranians. We are using their own oil against them. We have a much better line of sight, to be clear, at Treasury when this oil goes to, if it goes to Indonesia, if it goes to Japan, if it goes to Korea, we have a much better line of sight and are able to block accounts that the oil goes into. When it goes into China, it completely gets recycled. So to be clear, that 14 billion number is grossly overstated.
That's Scott Bessent defending the move to unsanction Iranian oil that is already on the water. And the way he breaks it down, it does make some sense. I mean, if oil skyrockets and goes to over $150 a barrel and they're making 70% on that, well, then they're still making more money. If you let them sell that oil, you flood the market, you keep oil prices low, well, then they don't make as much. So Iran's making money on that oil, whichever way you slice it. So they're saying that they're manipulating the cost by unsanctioning this oil. So in turn, they get less money, is essentially the play here, that they're jiu-jitsuing them out of their own money. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. Scott Bessent was also asked about the threats from the president. And he said, when it comes to the line in the sand that we had over the weekend, Scott Bessent said something that I tend to agree with. When it comes to the Iranians, this is the only language that they understand. Force.
Morning, good to have you back. I want to start with the latest of what we're hearing from President Trump. Let me read you what he posted overnight. He says, if Iran doesn't fully open without threat the Strait of Hormuz within 48 hours, from this exact point in time, the United States of America will hit and obliterate their various power plants, starting with the biggest one first. Has the president changed his mind about winding down the war, as he said a day earlier, and instead plans to escalate?
I think he said he could wind the war down at any time he wants. And, Kristen, this is the only language the Iranians understand.
But this seems to be an escalation, a threat of escalation, and it seems to run counter to his statement that he, in fact, wants to wind down the war.
Again, Kristen, the president's been very clear from the beginning that the goals are destroy the Iranian Air Force and the Navy, to completely demolish their missile capabilities, demolish their ability to replenish those capabilities, make sure the Iranians cannot have a nuclear weapon, and stop their ability to project power internationally. And the president will take whatever steps it takes to achieve those goals.
Well,
that's Scott Bessent on Meet the Press with Kristen Welker, saying that the threats from the president, the comments that he could wind down the war, I mean, listen, both can be true at the exact same time. and that the language that the Iranians understand are the threats. You talk about the carrot, you talk about the stick. President Trump saying this morning that he has had good conversations with those in control in Iran, and that's why he's given them another 5 days. The oil being unsanctioned is to control the prices. A lot of people are saying that makes a lot of sense. I'm skeptical about it. When I first heard of the news last week, immediately my mind went to, okay, so they're just going to make money on this while we're in a conflict with them. But when you hear Scott Bessent break it down and say, well, yeah, but if the cost of oil per barrel balloons because we didn't unsanction this oil, then they actually make more money than if we unsanction it. That seems to make a lot of sense to me. Another person echoing that same sentiment was Ambassador to UN Mike Waltz, former national security advisor before Signalgate. He was on a town hall with CNN over the weekend doing their War with Iran town hall. And he said the exact same thing that President Trump and Scott Bessent are doing. Their strategy to keep oil prices down makes a lot of sense.
To ask about something that just happened tonight, the U.S. lifted sanctions on 140 million barrels of Iranian oil. The U.S. lifted sanctions on Iran. So just to be clear, the administration is now allowing Iran, the country that it is at war with, to sell its oil, make money, and almost certainly use that money in its war against the U.S. Why?
Dan, I think you have to tell the rest of that story. That's a little bit misleading.
Please.
The measure is targeted towards oil that's already out there on ships, already out there in storage, and to the previous question is very temporary to basically defeat the Iranian strategy of driving energy prices so high, causing pain on consumers all the way, all over the world.
And money won't go into their coffers?
That much of that oil and that illicit oil is already out there. It's already out there in the system. So we're going to allow it to go in a temporary basis to some of our allies like India, Japan, and others, so that this strategy from Iran, the Iranian regime, doesn't work. And by the way, this is a president who put maximum pressure on the Iranian regime in his first term. It was lifted by Biden in this, Iran deal 2.0 attempt that Biden put in place. President Trump, as his second national security measure, put that maximum pressure back on. Their currency is tanking. Their foreign currency reserves are tanking. The thing the regime cares about the most is control and its money.
And if the thing the Iranian regime cares about the most being control, that's the thing that the Trump administration just took away from them by unsanctioning that oil. Said it was part of the plan. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I think that this is an interesting topic of conversation. Anthony in Hermitage wants to weigh in. What's up, Anthony? How are you?
Hey, wonderful. First of all, I love your show. I listen to 99.7 all the time. Just something I picked up on. I know you've played two sets of comments by Scott Bessent at this time, and I appreciate your coverage on all this, by the way, too. He didn't mention this in the comments you just played, but in the first set of comments, I picked up on. I like what he's saying. I like what he's explaining. I don't think in the first set of comments he does the best job in the world of being clear in the way he explains things. But one thing I picked up on was that if we release the sanctions on the oil that's just on the water, that's in storage, that's going to be sold anyway, if we do that in a way where we have control over the situation, it benefits us, like you're saying, because it doesn't balloon the price of oil.
Right.
But also, I think that something important that maybe got missed in there was that part of the stipulations, as far as my understanding, on releasing those sanctions is that oil will be sold to our allies. And in doing so, he mentions in the first set of comments that by doing that, we have control over the accounts that money goes into when that oil is sold, as opposed to letting it just happen without without touching the situation. That money would come from China and would go through routes that we don't have control over. So the Iranians would make less money doing it the way we're doing it, as opposed to making more money, and we would have control through our allies of that money and how it's released to Iran with stipulations as part of the sanctions. I think that's part of it.
That's one of my points of confusion, though, is I don't know how you force Iran to sell it to only our allies.
Well, my thinking is that, if the oil is sanctioned, let's say it's just sanctioned, and we're going to blockade that. You're not going to get to sell that oil. We're going to take the oil, let's say. So that has a lot of political problems to it inherently. So I think the best measure is what we're doing, where we're lifting the sanctions, encouraging them to come to the table, encouraging some sort of negotiation process here, having some form of control on the money because of the accounts that it would come through, lifting the sanctions under the conditions that this oil could only be sold to certain nations, certain territories. If my understanding that's correct, then I think that's a very good move. That keeps the price of oil down, and that gives us the most leverage as far as how that money is dispersed.
I mean, that could be the plan. I just don't know how it gets executed, and they could have a perfect plan for execution on this. But after you unsanction it, I don't know how you can go, all right, now you're only going to sell it to Japan and India. I don't know how that works. It gets a little foggy after that.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. That's why I was saying that I don't think that – I like what he said, but I don't think he was quite thorough enough, and I don't think he was clear enough, at least in the first set of comments that you played. He explained things a little more clearly, but not as thoroughly in the second set of comments. So, yeah, I'd like to know exactly what you're asking about. Well, I just want to bring to the table the fact that I picked up on – we would have some sort of control over where that oil goes and how the.
But he doesn't really elaborate on it, and I think that even his front part of the comments where he says, as long as we unsanction it, we keep the price down, then they're actually selling it for less money than they would have gotten. That makes a lot of sense to me, and I'm like, okay, at least I can see the strategy. I don't know how you force them to sell it to our allies after that point.
Therein lies the question, I guess. Yeah, I hope that's the case, and I don't know all of the. Minutia of those details.
I'm with you. I am a sideline observer as well, and I appreciate the call, Anthony. Let's go to Matt in Shelbyville. Matt says that we can't stop Iran. What's up, Matt?
What's up, Chris?
How you doing, man?
Real quick, 2 points. One, about the oil coming out and letting Iran have it. I think that's stupid. Just do like they did with Venezuela. Just take it. We take it, and then we can turn around and we can sell it to whoever we need to sell it to.
I mean, but that seems short-sighted because if you take that and then they launch a bunch of drones and then that oil tanker is now sitting at the bottom of the ocean, then I mean that's going to make the oil prices skyrocket even more.
Okay, but they're going to do that anyway. They're going to do that anyway. You're not going to be able to stop that. Just like you're not going to be able to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon. We got 40 countries that are nuclear capable. And since Iran has all this oil, they can always maybe not do it this year or next year, but they have resources where they can buy one and they can trade for one. So, and it doesn't, this might be, 30, 40, 50 years down the road. So if you turn around and lose all of our troops or our men, our citizens for something that they're going to eventually get anyway, I think that's a conversation that we need to have. This is like saying we're going to stop China or we're going to stop, we should stop North Korea from getting a nuke. They're going to get it. They're a sovereign country. The technology is going to increase. The people are going to get smarter. They're going to evolve. They're going to make one.
But with North Korea, there was a window of opportunity in there to stop them from getting a nuke, and then nobody did anything, and then they have a nuke, and now you're in a game of chicken with them if they ever decide that they want to launch it. So the whole thought process is not allowing them to be the next North Korea.
Okay, but again, now the other countries can say we're going to play chicken with the United States because we don't know when we're going to launch. So I mean, depending on. So is
it a net positive for the world to just let Iran get a nuclear weapon?
Well, if you're going to stop them, okay, then you have the world move on Iran. because Iran can't beat the world. So if we're going to spend $50 billion, then you'll have every country in the world spend $50 billion in resources to move against Iran. And then that will stop. Just like we could have stopped the war in Russia in one day.
So you said so just to clarify, we can't stop Iran, but we can if the whole world is behind us.
I think so. Because then you can change everything. You can change it's so hard because
we had 22 nations sign on readiness to contribute to reopening the Strait of Hormuz. We have the line in the sand now at 5 days on reopening the Strait of Hormuz. You don't think that we're going to I guess I'm just confused as to what your position is. You said that we can't stop Iran, but then we can stop Iran. So where do you stand?
At the current moment, that we're not going to be able to stop Iran, especially when the United States has turned around and got into this without going to our neighbors first. I mean, that's first and foremost. It's like me want to spend your money. You should have came forward, but that's not where we are now. Okay, that's not where we are. But right now, it's like an either or. I don't have all the answers, but as it states now, you're not going to stop somebody from getting it. But with Iran,
we're not going to stop them from getting a nuclear weapon.
We're not. We're just not going. I just feel that we're not going to stop them because it's the ideology.
I mean, but if not us, then who? Like, if you say that we can stop them with the entire world, guess what? They're going to be relying on our military might. So, like, if not us, then who? Like, I don't necessarily see that we're going to be a heck of a lot stronger in this battle just because we have England and Germany backing us up. And I don't necessarily think that we're weaker in this battle because we don't have England or Germany backing us up. So how does your calculations change based on if the world is there or not?
I think that, well, again, how does the world... Because the world is there because we just can't afford to be the world's police. We can't just do this alone. It's not fair for the citizens.
I mean, but we're currently, as it stands right now, we're currently not doing it alone. We have Israel, we have Saudi Arabia, we have Qatar, we have the United Arab Emirates, we have Oman. I mean, like, we're not doing it alone.
Do you think that when you talk, well, I just think basically, now I'm thinking as I'm on the phone. I think we have to change Iran's idealism, and I think that's why. If we don't change their idealism, then they're going to get the nuke no matter what we do.
So we need to wipe. So you're on record saying that we need to completely wipe out radical Islamism from Iran.
Well,
and that's the only way that's going to change things. I actually tend to agree, Matt. Thanks for the call. 1126 Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It's 11:29 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. We're about a minute away from headlines with the great Ken Weaver. Mason Fleming's in there producing as well. And then after the headlines, we're jumping right into the lightning round. You excited about the lightning round? Everybody's excited about the lightning round.
We love the lightning round.
We got some stories. Mayor Mamdani in New York. He's hanging out with criminals. Anna Paulina Luna. She had Bill Maher putting his foot in his mouth on Real Time. And Code Pink leftists, you know what they did over the weekend?
What'd they do?
They took a nice vacation to an island with no power. They went to Cuba. And they actually made them run a 5-star hotel on generators while they were there. Because they're not going to go to Cuba if they don't have electricity.
Can't live without air conditioning.
Can't do that. And then there's another story where an Islamic banner was draped over a 9/11 memorial in Concord, California that got a lot of people pissed off. All that and more on the way. It's 11:31. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
11:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Looks like we're going to start warming up again, and that cannot happen soon enough for yours truly. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, lawmakers going to consider 3 new marijuana bills starting this week. Channel 4's Lauren Lowry reports what they do.
The pot for potholes. This is one that was proposed last year but was voted down. And the idea would be to legalize marijuana for people 21 and older and then charge a 15% excise tax that would then fund state and local road and bridge repair projects in Tennessee. The other 2 bills both propose allowing a ballot question in the upcoming November general election that would gauge people's interest in legalizing medical marijuana.
All 3 proposals face key committee votes in the coming days. Operation Epic Fury. Relief ripping through the stock market today after President Trump said the U.S. has talked with Iran about a possible end to the war. Here's ABC's Sherry Preston.
As soon as the news broke on social media that discussions were in the works on ending the conflict, the price of oil dropped. A barrel of Brent crude fell nearly 10% to just over $101 a barrel, down from nearly $120 at one point last week. The S&P, which is what most of our recently struggling 401ks are tied to, jumped nearly 2%, and the Dow climbed more than 1,000 points before dropping slightly to about 900.
President Trump put a 5-day hold on further strikes on Iran's energy infrastructure after talks he said that started yesterday led to some concessions from Iran. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court hearing arguments related to mail-in ballots and when those ballots have been received and counted. We get more from ABC's Devin Dwyer.
Tens of millions of Americans vote by mail, and in every election, a small portion of those ballots cast on time aren't received until after Election Day. Well, today, the Republican National Committee is arguing at the Supreme Court that those late arriving ballots should be tossed out.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Zero Res Nashville. As a husband and a dad with 4 kids, we got 2 dogs as well. We're always looking for things that'll make the house healthier, especially this time of year where we're coming out of cold and flu season. And I'll be honest with you, at least for us personally, baseball season's kicking up and the carpets are about to get wrecked. So we bring in Zero Res. What stands out to my wife and myself, they don't use harsh chemicals or soap that leave residue behind. That means the carpets are clean, but also safe for the family and the pets. This is the Maha of carpet cleaning. Their exclusive ZR water does the trick. Again, no harsh chemicals, no soap residue left behind. The difference is going to be obvious right away. The carpet's going to look better, feel softer, and dry faster than any cleaning you've ever done before. And I'm not the only one noticing. My wife isn't the only one noticing. The reviews in Nashville, thousands of 5-star reviews. Right now, they're running 2- and 3-room carpet specials. You need to take advantage of this. 615-535-9376. That's 615-535-9376. Or go to ZeroResNashville.com and have them work up a custom quote for your home. ZeroResNashville.com. 37 minutes past the hour on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Ant. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. All right, so I got a text, and I was very confused about it because I read it wrong at first. So I thought the names were Ben and Candace. I thought somebody was going to be asking me about something Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens did, and I was like, I don't have any idea. But it was actually Brian and Candace, and they were asking for a shout-out. You know where they're listening to us?
Where are they listening to us from?
Valdez, Alaska.
Oh, wow.
On the WTN app. Anecdotally speaking, we are the #1 mid-morning show for residents of Valdez, Alaska. Did you know that?
I'm here for it.
You can listen anywhere. iHeartRadio, TuneIn, the WTN app, the FM dial. You can watch us as well. Maybe they like to watch us in Valdez, Alaska. Hit the subscribe button. We appreciate it.
Hit that like, too. We appreciate it.
Hit the like, too. Hey, before we do the lightning round, which is on deck, I got to say, happy 5-year anniversary. Do you know what today is the 5-year anniversary of?
What?
Today is the 5-year anniversary of Krispy Kreme offering you a free donut if you've been vaccinated.
Ah.
Anybody else still getting their free donuts?
Celebratory.
They said you'd get donuts every day for a year for free. Did anybody take them up on that offer? What got you first? Was it the vaccine or the diabetes? Just asking for a friend. I don't know.
For a friend.
Do you remember how crazy that was? 5 years? Is it 5 years already? I don't like it.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Free donuts. Do you remember when, what was it? Was it de Blasio? No. Which mayor was in New York where he was like awkwardly eating the French fries? Being like,
oh, I don't know.
You can get yourself a cheeseburger.
Got a cheeseburger for the vaccinated.
And some excellent fries. Did you know that? Did you know that? Anybody do that?
Did you know that?
It's crazy. What the hell happened? You ever like kind of wake up and you're like, oh yeah, that pandemic thing did happen.
That did happen. Our country was
right? Just for a little bit there.
Just for a little bit.
We recovered, I guess.
We had a little bit of a hiccup.
Yeah. All right. Time for the lightning round.
It's the lightning round with Chris Hand.
Apparently it's pronounced Valdez.
Valdez.
I didn't know they had Spanish cities up in Alaska.
I didn't either.
We learn something every day.
We could change that.
Everybody. Apparently everybody's experts on Valdez, Alaska. It wasn't even Brian and Candace that were correcting me.
Just everybody else?
They were just happy with their shout out. It was everybody else.
Sounds like we have more Alaska listeners than we thought.
We have way more Alaska listeners. VALDEZ. What do you want me to think?
Valdez.
It's the vibrant Hispanic community up there in Alaska. It's the best tacos in all of Alaska come from Valdez. Valdez. I literally got like 10 texts. It's Valdez. 6838 said, you don't remember the oil spill? I don't. When was
it's been a while.
Was there an oil spill in Valdez? When was that? Watch it be before I was born. I didn't know that. When was it? When was the 1989? I was one.
I was not even a concept.
You were what, like -9?
Yeah.
So, no, I did not. I do remember all the chatter. The
rumblings.
I remember the chatter about the Valdez oil spill.
But not one of your core memories growing up?
No. I was doing other things.
Yeah, I think First Words was on the agenda.
First Words, putting random things in my mouth. That was pretty big at the time. It's really hot in the streets for me around 89.
Other people changing your clothes for you.
Other people picking my outfits. It's also very nice.
It was an interesting time.
It's so weird how everything comes full circle because now it's like I have my wife who helps me pick out my outfits. It's great. It's great. All right, we do got to get to the lightning round. I promise we got the lightning round stories, and they are fantastic, and we got them for you. First story in the lightning round. Many New Yorkers are very upset. About Zoran Mamdani's guess. He's visiting with the wrong people. He doesn't visit with the heroes. He visits with the prisoners. When the hero NYPD officer jumped that bike rack to tackle the Islamic individual who was throwing the IED out in front of Gracie Mansion, he didn't get an invite to the mayor's house. No. Anti-Israel activist Mahmoud Khalil did. And now New Yorkers are appalled that he's visiting criminals on Rikers Island. This is what you get. Elections have consequences. Mayor Mamdani and all of his friends.
And critics slamming the New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani for visiting inmates at Rikers Island to break fast in the celebration of Ramadan. Now remember, just a few weeks ago, he chose to dine with a known anti-Israel protester instead of a hero NYPD officer who stopped a bombing suspect. An anonymous NYPD officer telling the New York Post, quote, he actually visited inmates on Rikers, but hasn't visited any victims of the heinous crimes some of these guys have committed. I think it's absolutely disgusting. But earlier in the week, Mamdani called this the most meaningful evening, telling NPR, quote, this is me just being a Muslim New Yorker, and I think there are some for whom that is a political act, and there are a million or so of us here in the city for whom it is simply a day-to-day existence.
Stunning and brave. I say this a lot, but imagine it's 2001, September 12th, and you say to a firefighter sitting there covered in sweat and dust and blood who hasn't been to sleep in 24 hours because he is tearing through the rubble of that terror attack there at Ground Zero. Imagine saying, hey, 2026, the mayor of this city will be visiting Muslims in jail to break the Ramadan fast. Hey, in 2026, the mayor, instead of celebrating heroes like you guys or NYPD's finest, he'll actually be having Muslim sympathizers over his house for dinner.
Makes sense.
Yep. Can you imagine the level of rage that you would feel? I can't imagine the level of rage they feel today, but I imagine it would be a little bit stronger if we could hop back in a time machine. Got another story for you here in the lightning round. This one came from Real Time with Bill Maher over the weekend. So Bill Maher does his weekly show, and then it comes out on HBO Max. I don't even know what time it airs anymore. Does anybody do that? Does anybody watch it in real time? No pun intended.
Nah.
So the show comes out over the weekend. He has Anna Paulina Luna on as a guest. And classic leftist. He says something very racist. He didn't mean to. He didn't. He says, hey, Cuba's important to you, isn't it? You're Cuban, right?
I want to talk about Cuba. This must be important to you, right? That's where your family's from? You grew up
We're
here?
Mexican, not all the same, Bill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Who's got jokes now?
Bad information, not my fault. Okay. But, all right. But
he doesn't even know how to recover.
Whoa.
Yikes. Anna Paulina Luna, though, listen, I like her. I think she's a fighter in Congress. I think that she's one of the good ones. And she was winning over after that, all that aside. She actually did win over the audience on the Save America Act, which that battle is still ongoing. But you have a hardcore leftist audience, and to say that it's not, you'd be kidding yourselves. But Bill Maher's audience is hardcore and leftist, and Anna Paulina Luna has the crowd just eating out of her hand when it comes to the Save America Act.
The Senate did a vote on voter ID and it failed. The Democrats voted against it. There's a lot of games in the Senate, and I've been nuking my own party. So look, we're not perfect, but what I will tell you is this is an 80-20 issue, just like banning insider trading. And the establishment and control is blocking it. If you cannot do your job in the Senate and get voter ID passed, proof of citizenship, you should find a different job, because the American people, black, white, Hispanic, Democrat, Republican, Independent, want this. And it is a failure if we cannot get this over the
If it's ID, that's fine.
I mean, listen, it's not a thunderous ovation, but I would say at least 80% of the crowd was clapping for her, proving once again this is an 80-20 issue, and that's a hardcore leftist audience. You're not going to see Bill Maher if you're very conservative. Like, that's just not on your to-do list. If you're visiting New York, though, and you happen to be a hardcore leftist, that might be right up there with, I don't know, The Daily Show. Is The Daily Show still a thing? Do people still enjoy The Daily Show?
I don't think so. I haven't heard anything about it in, well,
A while.
Oh, wow.
It hasn't been the same since Jon Stewart left.
No.
And like those like mid 2000s when Bush was still in office, I mean, it was, you can make the argument it was pretty good. You can make the argument it was bad too. Speaking of Cuba, got another story right here in the lightning round. Code Pink leftists, they flew to Cuba over the weekend to stand with the people of Cuba and defy President Trump and be pro-communist. And in true communist fashion, they flew out there and they got to stay in a 5-star luxury hotel while the rest of the island is in a blackout. But this is how excited they were on the plane ride down there.
So we're on the plane now getting ready to go to Havana, Cuba. We have this entire charter flight full of people and, as important, full of medicines. And we're so excited to be with the Cuban people and show our support, show our solidarity, and to say that this cruel, inhumane, barbaric policy of the Trump administration has to go.
Nothing says solidarity like you being in pitch black conditions and me being at a 5-star hotel where the generators are keeping the lights on. Code Pink is Women for Peace, is a pacifist anti-war organization registered in the United States, the 501 organization. It focuses on issues such as drone strikes, the Guantanamo Bay detention camp, Palestinian statehood, the Iran nuclear deal, human rights in Saudi Arabia, and peace on the Korean Peninsula. They're very busy. What would we do without them? Cuba, you can keep them. Just hang on to them. It would be a net positive for everybody. I think that's actually the first step in negotiations. Will you keep the Code Pink activists? You have 48 hours to decide. That's the line in the sand. Thank you for your attention to this matter. But they're saying, people are saying that you're treating this like an ideological theme park. That's what they're blasting it as. Heritage Foundation senior fellow Mike Gonzalez blasted Code Pink and left-wing activists for their luxury trip to Cuba on Fox and Friends weekend. And he's absolutely right. You get an all-expenses-paid trip to Cuba. You're going to say how awesome it is. Hassan Piker's out there. He's a leftist streamer on Twitch. He's like, Cuba's really awesome. It's such a good vibe out here. You know, everybody, it must be like an island thing. It's like, while he sits and streams from his 5-star hotel and nobody else can wash their clothes or have running water.
Yeah, not only are they generating a bunch of electricity just for them, but they're using up all the gas resources as well for said generators.
Yep, but it's a vibe.
It's a vibe, though. You got to understand.
It's a total vibe. They're breaking the blockade. They're staying in 5-star hotels, and they're going to hold a concert. They're gonna have a concert.
Who's performing?
I don't know who's performing. Can't be anybody good.
Yeah.
Probably like Lady Gaga. I don't know why. She just came top of mind.
This is your first pick.
She was like my first pick. It was like, it's got to be Lady Gaga. All right, got another story for you here in the lightning round. Also, to be fair, I have no idea if Lady Gaga is performing or not.
Yeah, we have no idea.
I thought of radical leftist artists, and she came top of mind. I think maybe Billie Eilish would be a good pick, too.
I could see that, but she might claim that it's on taken land.
It's true. Here's another story for you in the lightning round. This one is, I don't know if you knew this. Albany, New York is in a bit of a budget shortfall.
What?
Yep. And the mayor was asked questions about the city's $22 million projected 2026 budget deficit. Okay. And she had an answer. They said, how are you going to fix this? I just want to preface this by saying her answer is not satire. This is not satire.
Looking long term, what structural changes need to happen to prevent Albany from facing similar financial issues again?
That's a great question, and that's why we're pulling together that team, that interdepartmental team that will really go under the hood, open up the cabinets, really get into the weeds on our budget, the process, some of our systems. It is government. There's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of systems, and sometimes those systems do not work. And so you have to get under the hood to first understand what's not working. And so that team in short order will start the process of examining all of those things to then in turn provide me with recommendations on how we improve those systems to prevent something like this from happening moving forward.
Nailed it. If you ever wanted to know what it would be like with Kamala Harris as president, look no further than Albany, New York. The first black female mayor elected in 2023. Her name is Dorsey Applers. She went to the Kamala Harris School of Public Speaking, clearly, because she doesn't exactly have an answer. She just talks in word salad buffet.
Word salad circles.
Word salad circles. We're here for it. All right. That does it for today's edition of the Lightning Round. We will bring you that story on the Islamic banner in California tomorrow. It is a big one, so we'll have it for you tomorrow in the Lightning Round. Kind of ran out of time. 11:53, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. And when something goes wrong in your home, you want to call trusted pros, experts, guys that will treat you like family. That's Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, your trusted pros for total home comfort. Right now is the perfect time to upgrade. When you purchase a 16-SEER high-efficiency HVAC system, you're going to land some amazing TVA rebates for that unit replacement. And even better than landing those rebates is you don't have to do any of the rebates yourself. Busy Bee files all the paperwork for you. All you have to do is sit back and save money. On top of that, they're also going to hook you up with a Yeti Tundra 45 cooler for free. You'll also land that cooler if you need a whole home repipe. Today is the day to get it done. Call my friends at Busy Bee. If you want more savings, join the Beehive Club. Get yourself a membership and keep your home humming year-round. Members get priority scheduling, discounted repairs, free annual HVAC and plumbing checks, plus extended warranties, and that peace of mind knowing your equipment is always running at its best. It's the easiest way to save money, avoid breakdowns, and protect your home. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling today. 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833. BusyBeeHVAC.com. 11:59, Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand, Mason Fleming producing, Ken Weaver in the newsroom. Show's brought to you by Better Water LLC. I just asked Chad right before we got on the air. I know you guys know, so don't give away the answer. So do you know what today's the 5-year anniversary of?
It's COVID related.
It is.
Is this the day we shut down everything?
No. 5 years ago today, Krispy Kreme offered you a free donut every day for a year if you got your Smack-Shanason.
Oh, really? Wow.
COVID or diabetes, that was the risk reward that you
well,
had.
here's the thing. They
had to
offered
run
you
through.
free donut for a year, except for the fact that they were closed also for that entire year.
Yeah.
So there you go.
They weren't warm.
No, they were not warm.
No. And then do you remember de Blasio with his French fries and cheeseburger?
Oh, God, that was so funny. That was
Who wouldn't want some
so
free
funny.
fries?
I kept thinking to myself, where are we? Is this a different world that I'm in now?
Isn't it? It's crazy how quickly they memory hold a lot of this stuff.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, but yeah, let me tell you something. Walk around some stores, you still see some arrows going in some direction. You still see plexiglass.
Dude, you're not lying.
That's weird.
What are you talking about today?
We'll probably talk a little bit about Iran. We'll talk a little bit about pot for potholes. It's back, baby. Little stuff like that. Have a little bit of fun. Talk about some other wacky stuff.
So they got what three marijuana bills? Ken was saying going through today.
Yeah. One's actually like, let's do this, and the other one's like, we should investigate while we do this.
It's gonna be 3 up, 3 down, isn't it?
Probably. There's a good chance.
Spoiler alert. Chad's in next. It's 12:01 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.